chosen to be a wife? Is that what you said?
Well,
I felt heat coming from Donnie.
We were just like, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Let's not have this
conversation.
Okay, come on, talk.
For the record, we do the choosing.
We choose. They present, we choose.
Drop my mic on that one. Sorry, Donnie.
Well, that's why. So everything that you were saying, it just made
Real
me
quick,
think
before
about
you
something.
keep your questions, but I feel like there's some conversation.
You know, we started
Like,
talking a little bit.
I
whole table was like, wait a minute.
I feel like somebody got something to say. It might not be to what you said, but to help our audience.
We do the choosing.
Yes.
Men present, we choose. So ultimately, we decide if we're going to be a wife or not to that particular individual.
Koereyelle?
Absolutely.
Koereyelle?
Yes.
So I believe. Okay, so I agree to disagree. I do believe that women are in control of certain parts of the relationship. I think that for the most part, you're not going to have sex until the woman is ready to have sex, right? However, on the flip side, you're not getting married unless the man is ready to get married, unless you're going to drop down on the knee and choose that he's going to be your husband, which I am not for, right? So my question would be, how are you choosing your husband? Because if that's the case, the moment I decided I wanted to marry him, we would have got married.
It's going to sound so arrogant.
He has to wait for you to choose. Well, and not
But
even
he has to
just
choose to ask.
It starts
dating.
earlier than that because we choose from what you offer, right? So if there's a man who's not offering marriage and we know that we want that, then we could choose wisely or choose poorly. There are going to be, we could have married several men in our lifetime. There's something that stopped us from moving forward with that. And whatever posture or offer the man puts out there, I have to choose if that's the lane that I am willing to go down. Like, and I'm firm on that. Like, I refuse to stand around waiting to be chosen. I think we're both putting offers out there and we are co-picking each other. But when it all comes down to it, women, you should be doing the choosing. That's why most of us, from a woman's perspective, end up hurt and we're like, oh, these men just moved on so quickly. Well, we didn't choose right. There was always a sign. It's like we talked about red flags. I think you might have brought up red flag. We can't turn a red flag green. But what they offered was a red flag. And we chose it. We chose to accept that. We have to see the offer for what it is and decide if I want to enter that funnel and be closed.
There you go.
Exactly. I can agree with that part of it, but can we not see the... So are you saying that the women who are choosing, I just think in a room full of women, the majority of the women would choose to be married, but they may still be unmarried.
Okay.
So then where is their choice in the matter?
And the choosing of who they're, like, even in the animal kingdom, the male animals peacock. They show you what they have. And the female animal has to choose that particular animal. We talked about the eagle, the woman female eagle. She flies up and she drops the branch to see which bird can come and catch it. That's how she's choosing based upon what you're peacocking her with. So the animal kingdom does this. This is not anything new. I even teach before Bridgerton came out. When that series came out on Netflix, my students like, oh my God, Miss April, you've been teaching us this. Back in the day, they would have these big balls, and all of these eligible bachelors would come to these balls to try and marry the king's daughter, niece, or whatever. What they would do, the men would stand outside, and they would all finally come in, and she would dance with all of them. She would keep a tassel with a little booklet and a pencil, keeping notes on each gentleman that she danced with, because at that point, her family understood that she had to pick somebody that was appropriate for the family lineage. So this is not anything new. You go back into history, it's always been this way. Western culture has changed the dynamics, as well as women have lowered the standard to the point to where they're choosing anything because they just feel like because he liked me, and they don't know the difference between a high caliber man and a high earning man. So they're looking at his earnings, what he's peacocking them with everything he has, but they're not looking at character, integrity, spirituality, if his efforts patterns line up. They're not looking at those things. So I think when we say women choose, it's based upon what we're being peacocked with. Because even in the animal kingdom, they peacock the other female animals.
Yeah. And we don't have to take it just because if a man chose me and decided, I mean, I'm in a situation that's significant, but we're talking about if a man chose me as a single woman and says, I want you, I want to make you, I'm a woman who wants to be married ultimately. Right. I'm not married because I have chosen to move in a different direction than the men who were presenting the offer, right? The offer has been presented. I choose not to move forward with it. And I think one of the mindsets that we have to get out of is that we're sitting around waiting to be chosen. Somebody could present that offer as a woman who desires marriage, and I look at you and I say, I don't like how you peacock.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, and I would just kind of piggyback on that. So like I said, I've been married once, I've been engaged twice, probably had 2 other rings somewhere out there too. But that is a choice. Let me be clear. I chose to turn off that engagement, and I probably got another engagement in my email right now. No lie. But that is a choice. Getting the ring is not hard. There are men out there who are going to fall at your feet because you're beautiful, because you're smart, because your hair is pretty, because whatever. Men are going to want to be with you for whatever reason. Now, it's your decision if you want to choose them or not. I like the fact that you like me, but is it worth my energy to deal with you? Is it worth my time? What are you bringing to me to help me further myself, my success, or so on and so forth? But getting the ring is not hard. And I feel like so often a lot of, especially Black women, feel that is such a hard feat. Like, oh, I got to get married. I got to get engaged. Girl, that's the easy part. Getting engaged is the easy part. It's finding the right one. And that's not hard. It's not hard at all.
Well, I think the ring is not hard, but the relationship is what people don't want to work for.
Yep.
That part.
Yep.
That part.
I agree with that.
That
but
part.
I still chose
with me on that.
So I ain't waiting around here to be chosen.
Was that
We heard something.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, she didn't even get to her question, y'all.
That wasn't the question.
She didn't even get to it.
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's not trying to get chose?
International Players Anthem.
Yeah,
by the
I
way,
love it.
Just to let you know. So, but I do appreciate the conversation because it segues into the actual question that I have, which is coming around to the mindset of becoming a queen and thinking as a queen, as opposed to like a goddess or a boss chick or anything like that. We have to think more. And then also as an entrepreneur, coming around to the idea that life and business is about chess, right? And so as a queen, we make decisions that are good for the kingdom, that are strategic, that may have something to do with love, may have something to do with marriage, may have something to do with building a family. In the moment, those decisions might not feel good, but April, you said that it doesn't have to be black and white. But in the moment, it kind of feels like you're sacrificing love for strategy or strategy for love. And it feels like a black and white decision. So my question was, in you guys' experience, what are some decisions that you made that were maybe strategic or better for the kingdom as opposed to choosing for a love or emotional? Like, what were some decisions that maybe seemed black and white but weren't? Or some decisions that were black and white?
So I'll talk on that one again. For a long time, I chose, my boyfriend or my spouse or whatever he wanted. So instead of me really pushing my career forward, if he said, no, babe, let me do this first, or let me take the role in this. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll sit back. I don't have to start this right now. I don't have to start this business right now. I don't have to do this. I fell into a trap of following whatever he said. And it took a really bad breakup for me to say, you know what, screw all this. Tahlia's focused on Tahlia and these kids, and that is it. And that was kind of that drive to have me create the business and where I'm at now. Because I promised if I would have listened to him 7 years ago, 7 years ago, if I would have listened to him, I wouldn't have had a TV show. I wouldn't have been a successful broker. I would have quit real estate. He told me to quit real estate. Like, he's like, baby, you don't need to do this no more. I don't think you're that great at it. And you probably don't need to do that right now. That was him. Yeah. Red, like waving like the Falcons games. It was a big flag like that. And even with doing that show, he wasn't even supportive in that. He wanted to kind of be on the scene too. But once, the cameras are gone and all the PR and all the press I'm supposed to get, he sabotaged every possible thing I possibly could do. So if I wanted to go, to a speaking event or, whatever, walking into a club or whatever the case is, if I wanted to do anything, he sabotaged any of that. I didn't do anything after the fact. So with that breakup, I was like, I can't be on somebody else's coattails and, trying to please a man, especially if that's not my husband. And he wasn't my fiance either at the time. So definitely didn't make sense. But yeah.
Yeah, I had to learn how to trust myself.
Yeah.
I was in a high profile relationship and I was getting ready to get married and I knew, that gut, you knew, but I was like, no, because it would be right. It looks good. Everything is, I get what I want and we do good business together and all that, right? Until one day we were going somewhere and he said, I need to stop by here. And we had to stop by a church. And as I'm looking at, he's went somewhere in the church and I'm looking at the pulpit, I heard God clearly say, can you do this? And I'm looking around, ain't nobody in there but me. And I didn't want to admit that I already knew I couldn't do that. So I would say the biggest mistake I made was not trusting myself and honoring April's desires. And although I do believe in the helpmate and support, I also believe in being your own individual as well. And so I had to learn how to trust me and say, do you really want this or does it just look good on paper? And so I vowed I would never do that again.